Yeah, so Michael, I wanted to start by kind of asking you about your history a little bit, because I think it might be interesting. Like, you've been interested in yoga, mindfulness for a long time, it seems like. And I wonder if when you first got started, if that, like, what that first leap was that you can recall making into this world, because, growing up in America, right, as a man, that's not, I mean, I could feel it myself, and maybe your experience is different, but I imagine that that's kind of like off the beaten path, so to speak, and maybe what your upbringing was and the directions that came to you from outside. So I think it takes a certain amount of courage to say, you know what, no, I'm interested in this, and I'm going to pursue it more. And you've taken so many trainings, and that's a big investment. And so, is there a particular event or a time that you can recall that really set you on this track?
I had some difficult teachers growing up.
Yeah.
My family.
Like just okay.
My family. And so I discovered a solace in nature, especially growing up in Cincinnati. So I was age 5 to 12. There was a lot of tension in my family at the time. And fortunately, we lived, our backyard merged into a nature preserve. And so whenever I needed to escape from the tension in the house, I would just walk in nature. And that's when I began to get a sense of the healing power of nature. And I didn't know anything about mindfulness, didn't know the word, of course, at that time. I just noticed that when I observed, I had a deeper connection to nature. Now, we might call that being in the present moment or feeling the presence of natural energy. Some people will refer to it like that. I didn't know any of that. I just knew that I felt better. Connecting on that level. So that brought some solace. And then during those years, I started to get a sense that there was something bigger than myself. Again, I didn't know really what that was all about. But I just noticed, wow, I think there's more to life than what's just in this mind and in this body. There's something else going on here that got me interested. So
would you say also that you were feeling a connection?
Yes, yeah. So those were the seeds. Now, I was just a tween, but they were powerful seeds. And so when we moved to Erie, Pennsylvania, when I was 12, there's a beautiful state park there, Presque Isle State Park. And I think within a month, my dad and I were out there. He would drive me out, we'd walk around, we would go fishing, and my relationship with him has always been positive. The tension was with other family members. But he was like a cool dad. And so I just kept connecting to nature there. Now, I was raised in a fundamentalist Christian church, Church of Christ, with the fire and the brimstone, and lots of negative teachings, for me anyway.
Fear-based.
Very fear-based. And so that was difficult, and that came more from my mom's influence, who was, as we all are, a complex individual. And, she had her generational trauma, which I didn't know at the time. This is all as I'm older and more in retrospect, and kind of understanding them. And then myself through them. And so she was a very entertaining person and very jolly, and a great cook. She was all about service. I didn't know about karma yoga at the time, but she just loved to make food, serve people. She was a housewife. That was her career. And to support my upwardly mobile corporate dad. And But she had a lot of fears. She had a lot of anxieties. She had some telepathy powers, like she could see into the future, which freaked her out at times. She would know, like, could be a plane crash coming. And of course, that would just like freak her out. So,
I imagine it would maybe freak her out more when it actually happened.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what you mean.
Yeah.
She would have
she would
have the foresight, and then it would occur.
Yes.
Did she say that she had that even when she was a child, or do you know?
No, it came later for her, and so she was pretty anxious. And I was the only son, and she was the youngest.
So was it positive too? Did she have positive foresight, or was it always something?
It was usually
negative?
doom and gloom.
Interesting.
Yeah. And so she was really overprotective of me. I was mama's boy. And so that was a tension, me trying to break free of that control. Thus, getting into nature whenever I could. That was kind of part of it. But she could be just, a very, very warm and loving. But, like some people, her love was conditional. So I had to act in a way that was acceptable to her worldview. And if I didn't, then I would feel kind of the wrath of God, in a sense, which was how she was raised, right? So anyway, fast forward in that journey, I, of course, in high school rebelled a lot and was trying to figure out who am I, like we all do, and took on the identity of an urban hippie for a while, eventually shed that identity. And during my late teens, I was aware that the Beatles were meditating, and that was a huge draw for me. At one point at the public library, I discovered the Meditations by Marcus Aurelius.
Oh, wow.
Which I still have a copy of.
You think from the Beatles? The Beatles was the first one, and then that got you interested in?
Yes. I went to the public library, and I think the only book they had under meditation was his
Marcus
Meditations.
Aurelius.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one, right, to start?
Yeah, and I mean, it still is. Now
Yeah.
he was a Stoic philosopher.
Yeah.
But there were a lot of his maxims that really connected with me.
Anything that stands out? Do you remember now even?
No. But he got me going, and occasionally I'll just open it up and see. Oh, all right, what's he saying today?
No.
So I was probably 18, 19. I was in college, experimenting a lot with mind expanding things. Back then it was limited to LSD and cannabis. Wasn't fond of alcohol. The gang I hung out with, they were trying a lot of things, uppers, downers, things like that. Tried a little bit of that, didn't captivate me at all. And then I discovered Ram Dass, Be Here Now. And he had this journey of going through the drug phase as Richard Alpert and Timothy Leary.
How did you discover him?
I discovered him through a bookstore. And later on, I mean, this was just published, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago. The Harvard Psychedelic Club is a great book, a great read, just about their whole journey. But there was Be Here Now, and then, there was an interesting book I discovered at a health food store at the time. This is early 70s. And I forget the name of it, but it was kind of like this compendium of all things New Age at the time, what was called New Age back then. Different now. But healthy diet, and guess what? They had the IY Hatha 1 sequence in there with Satchidananda reference. So that was my introduction to Hatha Yoga. So I don't know, I'm 18 or 19. There was a little section on meditation, and so I knew about Ram Dass, and he had left the world of, LSD, found his guru, and began to embark on a deep practice of meditation. And so I was really curious, could I experience some of those mind-expanding states that I did through LSD and experience it in a natural way? So that was what I was like really wanting to investigate. So I started to do that. And, all my college friends, they're continuing with partying and, going to the bars. I just wasn't interested in that stuff. I stayed connected to nature. I have my whole life. And I began to meditate as best I could based on what little resources I had. And I started doing the Hatha 1 sequence. And that made my body feel good and helped me to sit more comfortably. I was so tight, there was no way I could sit, in lotus, cross-legged, without my back and hip killing me. And so, but I really wanted to do that. It was like a goal. When you're 20, it's like, all right, I want this goal. I want to sit in lotus. It took a long time, but through Hatha, it slowly opened my body up. Now, so that was going on. I was like 18 to about 23 during that period, going through college. During that time, maybe I was in Cleveland at a bookstore. The book, The Yoga Aphorisms of Patanjali by Swami Prabhavananda and Christopher Isherwood, almost like dropped at my feet. I'm looking through books, and I accidentally knocked one on to the floor, and it was that book, $2.95.
It's great.
I would say for that investment, that was the best how-to book that I've ever purchased in my life, because it was like all there. And I still have that book. I mean, I have to be careful how I open it. So that was a great guide. Now, I'm alone in Erie, Pennsylvania. Very few people are interested in these things. So I'm a loner, and there were many aphorisms or sutras that I just did not understand. Like, what is he talking about? So I'm like, all right, this isn't for me now, maybe later at some point, but I'll keep focusing on the ones that I have some understanding with, that connect with me. So that was really my practice. And then around the time I graduated, I fell in love, or thought I did, and married I would say a progressive Catholic girl from Erie. Erie's a very Catholic-based town. I had left the Church of Christ a long time ago, as soon as I graduated from high school at 17. And was, went into these other things. So we get married, and we wind up having 5 kids in 7 years. So by the time, yes, let's say that together. Wow.
Yeah, as a dad, I know what that means.
How many children do you have?
2.
Okay.
Yeah.
So by the time I'm
5 and 7 years. I mean, that's just wild.
Okay, so by the time I'm 30, I have 5 children, and it was chaos, and I had a full-time job. And so any semblance of a Hatha practice, meditation practice, just got pretty blown out. I mean, eventually I was able to, if I got up early enough before the kids did, kind of like the routine here. So if I'm up at 5:36, I could do a half an hour meditation.
But was it always you were drawn to that even while you were being a dad, that you didn't have the time necessarily, but you wanted to have the time to do these practices?
I felt like it was my lifeline to sanity.
Yeah.
Or at least stress management. And
so you had a little bit.
Yeah.
During that time.
So I tried to get some in as best I could. If I slept well the night before, that was the key. If I didn't sleep, I would get
Going
caught
to bed
up
early
because I had to go to work. Yes. But getting up early when you have children, that the family sadhana, is so important. And it would help, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. Yeah. Now, what I would say helped me more was discovering mindfulness, which for me is a practical application of meditation throughout the day as a way to feel grounded and centered. Yeah. And I could do mindfulness changing diapers. I could do mindfulness while giving the kids a bath.
And I bet you feel like it saved you through all of those experiences. I mean, I feel like
it helped me to be a better person. I wasn't perfect, and I had my triggers and from past trauma, and I had my challenges raising all those kids. Yeah. And then what exasperated it was my ex-wife and I discovering, we thought we were aligned, but we really are different people. And emotionally, socially, and that created a lot of friction, which made it even more difficult to, be a parent. We were able to co-parent pretty well.
That's big. When
we were together. But it just got worse, and there was a real, a lack of intimacy, a lack of emotional connection. I would say with all, the personality tests I've done over the decades, I'm still a social extrovert, but an emotional introvert. And my ex-wife was very much an introvert on all levels. And so that was difficult because communication is really important to me. And there was times I had no clue what she was feeling or thinking.
You said yourself, you were an emotional introvert, right? What does it mean to be an emotional introvert?
Well, it just means that I'm comfortable chatting. I'm comfortable with being transparent, being open, not closed. But at some point, I need time alone. So it's that balance of solitude and a balance of interaction. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I don't know if there's anyone that doesn't need that.
Sure.
That like a certain amount of solitude. I think about this, like often it's that balance, right? Right. And it's time to really rest on it. You're able to rest in a certain way, I think, when you're by yourself, that maybe you're not. It's not as easy, perhaps, to do that when you're around other people,
Right, right. So, it's that balance. In my case, and everyone's different with the ratio of that balance.
Right. That's right.
Right, yes. and even day to day, that can change for me some as well. But I love silence. But I love people, and I love engaging with people. I'm a food history tour guide down in Savannah, Georgia.
Really?
Which I never saw that coming.
That's cool.
And I love doing it. It's all tourists. They're coming from all over the country, sometimes the world. And we do a minimum of 2, a maximum of 8, so it's intimate. And we do these 3-hour tours where we're sharing a ton of history, culture, architecture, and we take them to 4 food spots so they can get a taste of what we call low country cuisine or coastal cuisine. And I really enjoy doing that, sharing my love for Savannah, my love for food and architecture, history with folks. But man, after the end of those tours, it's like I'm exhausted. Yeah. So a sign of an introvert is with human interaction, you're usually tired after a point. Where an extrovert, they're energized. They can just keep going and going. And even though I'm a social extrovert, I can only go so much with that. And then I just need some time alone. So it's that balance. Yeah. And so eventually, my ex-wife and I, decided to part. And then there's about 5 years there where I was primarily taking care of the kids. Most were living with me during the time. There was some movement. but most of the time. And I really just kept focusing on my spiritual practices, meditation. As the kids got older, that got easier.
Do you think they felt that as well? The impact of your practice, the fact that you were interested in doing these things?
We'd have to ask them about that. But from my own...
From your perspective, yeah.
Yeah, my relationship with them, they definitely saw a shift. And a positive shift. In fact, 3 of them lived here in Yogaville for a while. One worked at distribution, one was a kitchen manager for a bit. One just hung out for a while. And so they were here off and on in the past. So 5 years, I was focusing on that, my career, and healing some wounds from the past, family related, that had affected that marriage in not a healthy way, and joined some men's groups, which, Robert Bly was really big in the 80s, 90s. There's even his work is still influencing men's groups to this day. Are you familiar with Robert Bly?
No, I'm not, yeah.
Well, his movement is based on boys were not initiated in healthy ways into manhood.
Yeah.
Like American culture and dads and parenting, and I feel they were doing the best they could and, being compassionate with the skills they had, which they weren't mentored well by their dads, and they weren't initiated well into conscious manhood. So that's what the men's movements are typically all about, and they have their rituals to do that. I just hung out with cool guys, and we would do drum circles, and we would, share some poetry that men had written. I have a good friend who went real deep into that path for a while. And so just knowing him, we've always had great conversations about that and the need to be more conscious parents, conscious dads. I was pretty much an unconscious dad in that first marriage. So 5 years go by. I fall in love again. We've been married, it'll be, 29 years this summer.
Wow.
My first marriage was 16.
Wow.
And then it was about a 5-year break, I guess. And then we've adopted. So we weren't able to have children on our own. And so we adopted a son from Guatemala who's 21 now.
How old was he when you adopted him?
He was 11 months.
Oh.
And he had been raised by foster parents. And so he had attached to them. And so he's had that attachment challenge ever since. And we still see that played out to this day. It's gotten better, and I think he knows we have his back. He knows we're there for him. But he'll have, trouble asking for support or asking for help, or he kind of assumes that, we aren't going to help him out. Like he's on his own. But he's gotten better at asking.
That's what you mean by an attachment challenge.
He's gotten better at asking for money.
Well, there's one place to start.
Yeah.
It's still starting place.
Attachment disorder is what it's usually, now.
So asking for help is, I guess,
it can be just, it's more of I think it's more emotional, where it's that kind of that deep samskara of maybe I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough. And from my perspective, we all have that samskara.
So hard. The
samskara of I'm not worthy or I'm not good enough. I certainly had that. But that's my son, and he's a great guy. He's a shaman in some ways. our son, from Guatemala. He's got the Mayan skull. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but he can read people really well. He's got this intuitive faculty in that way, but he's a very logical guy, and so he's just this interesting guy. He's got a great heart, good heart. But I think, we still have to remind him sometimes. He knows, we love him, and there's a lot of love in our house. But I think on a deep level, it's hard for him to receive that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then our daughter, we adopted her from Ethiopia. She'll be 16 soon. I'm teaching her how to drive right now. That's
nice.
I'm having a lot of fun with that. Yeah. She's great. And she was 5 months. She was a little baby, and she was raised in an orphanage. And she attached to us right away. And you really see that difference.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you're that young, even a month or two makes such a big difference.
Huge.
Yeah.
Huge. So what was cool, our son Saul went with us when we went to Ethiopia. He was 5 years old, and his birthday is December 7th, which was the auspicious day when we received the visa for our daughter to bring her home. It was on his birthday. How cool is that?
Yeah.
And then she was born on our anniversary, June 29th. So,
when stuff like that happens,
yeah,
like synchronicities.
Yeah, right.
What does that trigger for you?
It fills my heart.
Yeah. Do you feel support? Like there's maybe some other energy or force that is looking out for you or winking at you in a way?
I do.
Say, yeah, we got this. Like, you're doing well. Keep going. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. Yeah. It is a supportive message for me, and it relates to Dharma. Like,
yeah, exactly.
I really felt like, okay, with these things happening, who could have figured that out, that our daughter would have been born on our anniversary?
Yeah. It almost is like when things happen, it's just like, this is too much. Like,
yeah.
Okay, I can label this with coincidence with that word, but that doesn't feel true to me.
Right. So, when we go back and when I go back and contemplate to those kinds of auspicious events, it really helps me realize I'm on the right path here. That choice was a good choice because I got feedback from the universe that it is. And that also connected for me, that idea of Dharma and what you were saying, with my path as a yoga teacher. So remember I'd said, like, I was an outlier in Erie. No one was interested in this stuff. So it was something I loved, didn't really share with anybody. And I had embarked on a career in social work initially, public relations at a hospital, copywriter at an ad agency, a freelance writer for the paper, and eventually director of marketing at a retirement center. So I was doing those things, and it was okay. It paid the bills. It helped to support the kids, those 5 kids at that time. But it wasn't fulfilling. It didn't bring me joy. Totally. I could do it. I got good feedback and all that.
It didn't feel dharmic when you're in the midst of doing it and spending your time doing it. It didn't feel that
and it was
way,
hard to be dharmic in an adharmic situation at times. But my wife today, last almost 30 years now, I met her, it'll be 33 years. I met her on my birthday. There's another auspicious thing. I was teaching a yoga class. She came to the class, and I was like, who is this? I just knew, like, immediately. And so that was like about 31, it'll be 32 years. We dated a couple years before we got married, but where was I going with that?
Well, You're talking about kind of diving in more fully, transitioning from these other roles that you were playing into yoga as a teacher, yeah?
Yes. So we're getting ready to get married. So this was in 96. And I get laid off the marketing job. They wanted me to fill this one residential area. And I did it way ahead of time, the goal. And they're like, well, we're done with you. So they laid me off. Meanwhile, she just graduated from graduate school. She's looking for a job. So we both don't have jobs. And I'm still supporting 5 kids and all of that. So we were in like this, whoa, and we're getting married. So around that time, and here's the real dharmic thing. And I've shared it with the swamis here and teacher trainings and different things. I hear from a good friend and who was in marketing that a new community college was looking for a marketing director. And she's like, Michael, yeah, go check it out. John's a pretty cool guy. He comes from academia. He wants to start this. I'm like, okay, thank you. I didn't know about it. And I'm always, when those things happen, I follow that trail. When unexpected things happen in my life, even if it's not immediately like, this is a great thing, it's a thing. And if it's even some semblance of a positive thing, I'm going to follow that trail. So I have a meeting with him. And I'm pushing all my marketing skills, PR skills, all of that. We're chatting for about an hour. And this was a guy who had the gift of being able to know what someone's real talents are and what their potential is and supporting that. So after I give my pitch, he looks at me, he's like, Michael, what do you really want to do?
Beautiful question. And just such a gift to ask that question to someone else.
Right?
Yeah.
And so without hesitation, and keep in mind, at the time, even in Erie in 96, there was hardly any yoga going on. So I immediately said, I want to teach yoga, and I want to get trained, and I want to be the first person in Erie to get certified. There's a few things going on here, but nobody's certified. I'm teaching a little bit, I'm not certified. And I would like to have that professional, that professionalism going into it.
Amazing even how much the times have changed, since then, right? That would not be the case now, yeah.
So he's like, okay, so where do you do this? And I'm like, well, I've already been researching, and there's this place called Integral Yoga down in Virginia. And he's like, so what's it involved? I'm like, a month. And what's it cost? And I told him. And he's like, I'll pay for it. I'm like, what? He's like, I'll pay for it. I'm like, okay. What do you want from me for this? And he's like, well, when you come back, I'd like for you to develop an outline to teach this yoga, but in a stress management way, that we can film you doing it, and then we will then broadcast it to companies in Erie, including blue-collar places, factories, businesses, so that then they could do it in a way that's convenient for them, maybe before a shift, at lunch break, after work, something like that. And he's like, that's all I want. I'm like, okay.
As like a service for the community college, essentially?
Yeah.
To the community?
And then I think his thinking too was to increase their visibility and then attract people maybe in those settings who want more education.
Nice.
Yeah, good thinking. So fall of 96, I come to Yogaville, take my first teacher training. So it will be, 29 years this fall. I had visited here briefly prior to that, so I knew about it. But so I go down, I do the training, I come back, I do the outline, I'm ready to go. His thinking had shifted a bit, and he said, I don't think we're ready to launch this yet, but I want to still help you get on your feet regarding yoga teaching here in Erie. As this guy had no interest in yoga himself, so what a gift. He saw the potential in other people.
I would say he did have an interest in yoga, he just didn't call it yoga.
Yeah, stress management, right? So he's like, what would be helpful to you? He's like, I know. We're going to be helping out the brand new library here in the computer lab. And I'm like, I know very little about computers, man. He's like, that's okay. We just want people to monitor the computer lab in the library to make sure people aren't getting into porn or anything that's really not there for educational purposes. I'm like, I can do that. Sure, why not? So he's like, how about part-time, 20 hours a week, I'll pay you this, and then you can, do whatever you want to do. So for a couple years, I did that. And then I was freelance writing, which didn't pay that much. And then I started teaching yoga more. And I was teaching wherever I could, like I was fearless. I was teaching colleges, companies, shipping docks at GE up in Erie, Wegmans grocery store, in the cafe when it was, slow periods in the day.
Hatha at this point.
Yeah, gentle hatha.
Yep.
Wherever I could. And trying to just get it out there. And it was going okay. It was a lot of nickel and dime stuff. I'm driving around a lot. I was getting frustrated. And then my wife, Allison, who is now a life coach, but she's always had that in her. And then her mom was very supportive too. They both said, you need to open up a studio, and they will come. So I found like a really small space. It could hold 10 people. Rent was low. And I did some free classes, and they all maxed out. And I remember that very first session. It was like a winter session, January of 1998. So I'd been at this about 2 years since the training, year and a half. I signed up about 65 people for the winter session, which was very encouraging. And then Erie's a small town, so word of mouth is the best advertising, and people are talking now. And so next session, I'm close to 100 people. And I would do sessions. That's how I did my business model with the yoga studio, where people would pay up front for about 8 weeks. I knew how much money was going to go out. I had no clue how much money was coming in. So there was some comfort for me to have people pay ahead. And then if I had room, drop-ins are fine, or I would prorate for fewer weeks, stuff like that. That worked for me. I know the model's very different today, with the memberships and the passes and all of that. So here's another dharmic moment during this time, that winter. So I'm doing that. I'm still freelance writing. I wrote an article about holistic health for the Erie Chautauqua magazine, which was like the glossy magazine for our area. Very well done. And so I do this piece about alternative health, complementary health, who's doing what in Erie Chautauqua. And it gets noticed by the vice president of marketing at one of our healthcare hospitals, one of 2 major hospitals, Jane. And so she gives me a call. Now, I knew about her through my marketing background. And she had a reputation for being a very strong leadership type individual, which is fine. So she calls me up. She's like, Michael, I read your article. I really liked it a lot. I was wondering if I could talk with you about it. Could I come down to your studio? I'm like, well, Jane, I don't even have any chairs. Now, this is a woman who was wearing 3-piece black suits and high heels. Mm-hmm. So that's why I said that. She's like, that's okay, Michael. I'm like, well, I'll stack some blankets for you. And so she comes down. She brings me, see that peace lily over there? She brings me one about 4 times that size.
Wow.
As a gift.
Wow.
And sits down on the stack of blankets. And we start talking. And she's like, it really seems like you know the quality practitioners of holistic health in Erie, based on your article. And I'm like, yeah, I know quite a few of them. And she said, well, we're thinking of starting a complementary care center here in Erie, connected to the hospital, but separate from it. And we need your help. Can we hire you as a consultant to help us find the right people for the program? And the pay was great. I'm like, okay. So I start to do that for a couple months. And then she calls me. And she's like, could you come into my office? I'm like, okay. So I go, and that conversation led to them hiring me full-time with a 401k, with all the health benefits, to be a full-time yoga teacher for the hospital and the complementary care center. Her thinking was, you have a following. Those people will then cross by into reflexology, massage therapy, cranial sacral therapy, acupressure, all those kinds of things. I'm like, okay. She goes, now, we're developing a space. We want you to look at it to see if that's going to work for you. Okay, this is like a dream come true.
Right.
Okay, so I go to this facility that was attached to a independent living retirement facility. Used to be a doctor's office, I think. And so they take me in. I'm like, yeah, well, can we do this? Can we do that? And they're like, absolutely. So I had this beautiful room, probably the third of the size of this one in here, with an office looking out at the room. There was a window. And they were so supportive. They're like, what kind of equipment do you need? We have no clue. So I ordered yoga mats. I ordered bolsters, pillows, blankets, straps, all set up, blocks, everything. They paid for everything. Got all set up. And it did really well. Now, here's another dharmic thing. This is mind-blowing to me. It might be to you as well. I hope so. I like blowing people's minds.
Oh, yeah? Why is that?
It's fun, see?
It's fun. Okay.
It brings joy to people.
That's a good reason.
Right. Swami Shashananda, I just looked at it again, to be happy, make other people happy. So there's some truth to that. And so I'm in my office, no classes. I'm just kind of setting up my bookcase. I've got a picture of Swami Satchidananda in there. I'm burning some incense. I had already run by Jane. I'm like, okay, now, I don't want to compromise the teachings for doing this. So is it okay if I lead in chanting?
Yeah.
Do some chanting. Is it okay if I burn incense? Is it okay if I do this and that? And she's like, we trust you.
Great. Amazing.
I'm like, okay. So I'm in there. I think I was playing a chanting tape, on cassette. And in walks the CEO of the hospital, who's a sister. She's a nun. And she just kind of walks in. Now, this was her baby, the complementary care center. This was her vision. This is what drove the whole thing.
It was her, yeah.
It was her. So, and she was known for being a Kali, kind of Kali energy and Lakshmi energy kind of blended there.
Strong force.
Yes, strong force. So she walks in. She's like, "Hi, Michael. I'm Sister Catherine." I'm like, "Such a pleasure for you to come. So glad to meet you. I really appreciate your vision." And then she sees Swami Satchidananda's picture. She's like, "Do you know Swami Satchidananda?" I'm like, "Well, yes, I've met him, and he's head of Integral Yoga, where I did my training." "Oh, that's great. I was with a group of nuns that was in New York, and we heard him give an ecumenical talk."
Yep.
Who would have thought?
Amazing. Yeah.
She goes, "Very good. Much success to you, Michael." And then she walks out. I never saw her again. So I was there for 3 years. The yoga did really well. They sent me on more trainings. I got my prenatal certification here in Yogaville. Mm-hmm. I think the only guy who had done it at that time.
So. Yeah. Maybe still.
Maybe. That was a hoot. And Kali was one of the co-trainers. Uh-huh. And, I had to wear pillows to simulate pregnancy.
That's amazing. That's what I'm talking about. That's jumping in. That was
jumping in. It was jumping in. At the end of that training, I was so full of, and keep in mind, I had been a part of 5 pregnancies already.
Yeah.
But it's different being a guy. But anyway, I was so full of estrogen by the end of that training that, and some of the swamis remember this to this day. They asked like, "So, what do you want to do first when you leave this training, Michael?" I'm like, I'm thinking of hanging out at a bar, having a scotch and a cigar. And they knew I was just kidding. But it was a great training. I loved it. And it went really well because at the hospital, because they had hooked up all their, maternity people to refer to the prenatal yoga. So I was teaching for a while there. It was like 15 to 30 pregnant women. It was great. I did that for almost 3 years. They sent me to the very first that Nishala did of yoga for the heart and cancer. So I was part of that training. They were so good for me. Now, after 3 years, Sister Catherine retired. She was replaced with a bean counter. We weren't making enough money. Yoga was doing well, but not everything else. So they closed the program. But they were really kind to me. They gave me all the equipment, the database for yoga, a nice severance package. And that really launched me, where then I opened up my second studio, but bigger, and just never looked back, and just did that for like 25 years. But that was a huge dharmic boost for me that I've always appreciated. So I think that answered your question about that.
Pretty good. Well, you know what I notice in you sharing a bit of your story is, from a young age, whether it was that you were connecting with nature or the Beatles or a book that fell at your feet in a store or, being honest in a moment with someone about what you really wanted, like all this stuff, it seems that there's a part of you that's able to tap into your intuition of what feels right, and always has been, sounds like, to a certain extent. And that's really cool, to have that. To me, that makes all the difference. It's like, okay, everyone or most of the people I know are doing this one thing, but that doesn't feel right to me. This is what feels right. And I think a lot of people have that experience, right? And I think the pull towards fitting in and not being like a loner, like you mentioned being, should not be underestimated. It should really be seen and acknowledged for the strong force that it is. Like we're social creatures, and being a part of a community in a way, even if we're not defining it as community, is really important to our well-being. And I think because of that, a lot of times there's a tendency to turn away from a different calling that we have just in order to do what's maybe safe or the expectations other people have. So I don't know, it's really nice to hear your story, to hear an example of someone who, just went towards the thing that your heart was saying, okay, this is right. This feels true. This feels authentic. We only have so much time here on this planet. I'm not gonna waste it. I'm gonna go towards this. Even if it's like, well, the Beatles are really interesting, and I respect them, and they've given me so much great experiences with sound and their music, and they're doing this thing called meditation. So I'm gonna really look at that and see what that's about. Yeah.
Right. For me, it was really powerful to try to figure that out pretty much alone. It was hard. It was challenging. I couldn't talk to many people about it. I could with my ex-wife. That is one thing we shared, a spiritual path, but then we went in different directions with that. But my wife, Allison, was so supportive. She's always been so supportive and appreciates the intuitive skills that I do have. Because she'll often say, Michael, what are you intuiting with this?
And you don't mind getting that question?
Not at all.
You like getting that question?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I have to pause and feel it out.
Is it ever, I'm not sure, I really don't have an opinion about this at all?
It's developed, it's more strong, so I usually don't doubt it. And I think that gift to some degree came from my mom. And then,
I was thinking that, yeah.
Yeah, and then my meditation practice. But she'll, we might hire a handyman to come in to do something for the house, and he leaves. I'm like, I don't have a good feeling about this guy.
Yeah.
And she totally respects that. There's been many, many, many cases like that where I'll be like, yeah, I do feel good about this person. Or, I'm not feeling that. I'm feeling some darkness with this person. And then it would be proven later, like later on. And my wife will say, wow, you understood that person, So that's been helpful, really helpful.
I hear what you're saying.
And I tend to be more logical. I was trained, conditioned that way.
Yeah.
Right? And so kind of my thing is do my research, do the logic thing, but then feel it out. Feel it out.
You said something, I was listening to another podcast you were doing. I don't know if you remember this, but you said, you mentioned getting out of your head, right? Like the ability to get out of your head. And you're like,
right.
Well, I don't know if it is possible to get out of your head. I mean, where would I go?
Did I say that?
You said, where would I, if I got out of my head, where would I go? And I thought I wanted to follow up and ask you about that. Okay, where would you go?
I think where we go when we're out of our head is we're following our heart and we're following our intuition.
There's a place in the body then? Where are we existing? This consciousness is existing in the body, whether it's the head or the heart or a combination of...
Probably, embodied awareness.
But the consciousness itself, you feel like is living in the body, existing in the body? You don't think it's beyond the body, the consciousness?
I think it's everywhere.
Okay, so it is beyond the body.
And in the body. It's
of course, yeah.
Yeah, one and the same.
Yeah. And somehow care for the body, because also we're talking about mindfulness, right? And what that means, right? A lot of it is in the embodied practice, coming back to the whole body. And so it seems somehow doing that allows for a connection with beyond the body as well. It's almost like taking care of this layer. Now I can go to a layer beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's helped me make that shift, getting out of my head, so to speak, is when I'm faced with a choice, which is all the time, is to basically just say, what do I do next? Or what would you have me do next? What would you, God, have me do next? And then I have to mentally pause. I can't think. I want to think, but I don't.
The question opens up space. And the space is there,
Yes.
and then a message comes through that space.
There's a feeling tone. Mm-hmm. And the feeling tone might create a thought or an image, and then I just know. It will feel right to me. There's no question, there's no doubt. It just feels right.
Does it feel right because it's not yours?
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not trying. I'm not trying to make it happen. When I make it happen or try to make it happen, then there's the doubt, or fear comes in, or something like that. So what helps all this process, which is getting back to why I'm here in Yogaville this weekend, is mindfulness for busy people. So mindfulness helps ground me. It's an embodied awareness, as I'm sure you know. One of my maxims with mindfulness is to cling or not to cling. That's the question.
Yeah.
Not to think or not to think, or to think, but to cling or not to cling. So it's letting go of thoughts a lot of times, or clinging onto anything, being as non-attached as possible. And so that non-clinging will open up the space for intuition to flower. Yeah.
It's interesting with the clinging, because I do feel that there's a part of ourselves that we are beings who cling. To not cling is impossible, right? Because perhaps the wisest thing to cling to is this idea of not clinging, right? So to be conscious of what I'm clinging to, and then making choices about what I observe. Do I want to continue? I notice that I cling to this.
Right.
Now, do I want to continue clinging to this or not? Is this clinging that I have, is it adding to my life or detracting from my life?
Right, right. And some of that is healthy. I think it's some of those attachments, as you know, attachment to loving your family, wanting to be healthy, wanting to be...
Right, exactly.
Wanting to awaken in this lifetime. Wanting
to grow.
Yeah, wanting to connect with a higher power. All of that is for me, that's healthy. If it brings me wholeness and joy, and increases my ability to have love and compassion and acceptance for others, I'll cling to whatever that is. as long as it's natural. I'm not going to take ecstasy. I've never have. I've heard it makes you feel more one with others and all that. I think we all have the capacity to do that without taking anything. We have that capacity.
There's no doubt.
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time to speak with me. It's been really fun getting to know you. I hope the program this weekend, goes well. I know you've led it before. I imagine you'll lead it in the future. I think it's so important. Mindfulness for busy people. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you want to end with kind of giving the inspiration for why you've developed this particular program?
Well, first, I just want to say, I want to acknowledge I appreciate you, and I appreciate that you invited me to do this. And again, we're always at a point of choice. So when I got your email, and I've known of your work, I've seen your interviews before and your podcasts, and I felt, oh, you're a cool guy. I like this guy anyway. And as soon as that came up, there was like no hesitation, no doubt. I'm like, yes.
Yeah, it was awesome to just get that simple response. Yeah, I'm in. Let's do it.
Yes, let's do this. So what was your question about?
Just mindfulness for busy people specifically. Like
what inspired that?
Yeah, what inspires the focus to be on busy people? I mean, I don't even know if I meet anyone these days that says they're not busy.
So that's it. And one thing I learned here through Yogaville Swami Ramananda is the dis-ease of busyness, which is an epidemic, it seems like.
Right.
And it's playing out in so many ways, and in some ways really not healthy, where yoga studios are modeled to meet people more than halfway by appealing to their busyness by having fast yoga classes instead of trying to help them to slow down. So for me, I think it's a compassionate response to what's going on, and I try to offer that through slow yoga, traditional hatha, through yin yoga, through restorative yoga.
But even also through this idea of incorporating it into all aspects of your life that you mentioned having yourself, which I think was such a big moment. Like, this isn't just something I do for, an hour a few times a week.
Right.
This is something that I have the intention of infiltrating my entire being in my life so that the quality of it increases.
It's a lifestyle practice. And the powers to be here were kind to invite me to give a talk Saturday night at Satsang. And that's going to be kind of my focus, is that mindfulness there's an art to it.
There's an art to see, I feel
there's a lot of science to it that we know now, but there's an art to it, right? And the art, like painting a canvas, is that we have this ability with the mindfulness skills to integrate it into every moment of our lives. And so the folks who will say, I don't have time to meditate, I don't have time for this, I got too much going on in my life, this can be a helpful tool to them to reduce some of their stress, just on that level, to help them to experience being grounded in their body in the midst of whatever work they're doing. We can access it, and it can help us to be less reactive and more responsive. It can help us to not, if we are triggered by something, not to react to it. So we're coming from a place that's more compassionate and spacious and open, and just helpful to ourselves and others.
Yeah.
Sounds nice, doesn't it?
I mean, it is nice. It is everything, to really make the most of this experience. I like you use the word. It's actually, there's a part of me, we're going to wrap up, but there's a part of me that really wants to dive into, art and science, right? And what those words mean and the relationship between those things. But I more and more feel that, like, this experience of being alive is art. It's like we are creating, our lives are creating art, and that idea is very helpful to me because it's not trying to, like, put myself in a box or live by a certain set of rules. It's honoring my intuition in every moment, and every moment's different, and it does feel like art. What is this moment calling for?
Yes.
If people are interested in connecting with you and finding more about your work, what's the best way for them to do that?
Well, I have two websites. One is Michael Plasha, Plasha.com. That's an easy one. And that's focused a lot on my work as a mindfulness consultant or coach for companies or individuals, CEOs, whoever. And then the other one is a very long website URL, Private Yoga and Meditation Savannah.com. And that's more for my Savannah lovelies out there who are interested in a craft developed, individualized, private or group yoga class or meditation class. That's what juices me up, is adapting these timeless wisdom traditions to meet the needs of specific people. Yeah. Whether they're in a wheelchair or not, whether they're a CEO or a teacher, whatever. I love that creative challenge to adapt it for them. And I think mindfulness helps us to shift. You were saying a moment ago, I think it helps us in that artistic way to be more creative, because when our energy is bound up in stress, as you know, it's taking up creative energy. When we're mindful, it's reducing that stress, and then it's allowing us to re-energize our intuitive natural abilities, which can feed creativity as well. And then we become artists of our own life.
Now that sounds good. That's great. Really appreciate this time. Great.
Appreciate your questions and your insights.
Yeah.
And thanks for, it's because of you that I said whatever I said today.
I don't know.
Because I had no clue what I was going to say, and I appreciate this whole thing that just happened.
That's co-creation. Yeah,
co-creation.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for what you do, Michael.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed this content and think others might as well, please feel free to share and subscribe.